Look, it has long been noted, everyone around the world, all my colleagues at the G7, the G20, the speakers of the parliaments, the free countries around the world, everybody acknowledges, we talk about this publicly and privately, that America has a very important role to play in the world. We have held this position since World War II. Ronald Reagan used to quote Pope Pius, I think the 12th, who said, the leadership of the free world was placed upon the shoulders of the United States of America after World War II. It is not a position that we sought or asked for, but that's how it developed. And we emerged as a superpower, and we are the good guys. We are the defenders of freedom and liberty, and freedom-loving people all around the world benefit from a strong America. These are undisputed, objective facts. Does that mean that we should be intervening everywhere around the world in nation building and doing all these other endeavors? No, because we don't have the resources or the appetite to do that. That's...
Well, I do agree with little Mikey Johnson on one thing. The rest of the world does benefit from a strong, and I would add a just America. However, little Mikey Grinder Johnson, we are not the good guys anymore. I'm not convinced we ever truly were, but we sure as hell are not the good guys right now. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. In fact, I would argue that much of the world sees America as part of the axis of evil. Right now, our deranged and criminal president colludes with the world's most depraved and evil dictators, from Vladimir Putin to Bibi Netanyahu to chuckling about torturing people with El Salvador's dictator Nayib Bukele. Iran, a country run by an oppressive regime, is now seen by many Americans as a more credible source of information than our own American government. Think about that. And apparently, the Iranians think Americans are so dumb that the only way that they can communicate things to us is through Lego memes. As James Jefferson writes, I am embarrassed for us. Iran really sat in a meeting and decided Legos were the only way to talk to Americans. And they were right. I'm not even going to lie. If mainstream media started using Legos to explain the news, I'd actually understand what's going on in the world. And then he has like anguished emoji faces sitting over a picture of Lego Benjamin Netanyahu, Lego Donald Trump with a Lego Satan, and a Lego, I think that's like a ball with a Star of David on its head and a big ring through its nose, like really scary looking characters. And then this was just something that was going on around, I think it was on Threads or some type of social media, where people were posting the requirements that it takes for people coming into the United States just to get in to the U.S. More personal and family data, a complete digital and biographical profile of the traveler. So people who are coming in to the U.S. have to provide phone numbers used in the past 5 years, email addresses used in the past 10 years, IP addresses and metadata from uploaded photos, detailed family information, names, dates, and places of birth, phone numbers, residences, advanced biometric data, facial image, fingerprints, DNA, professional data from recent years, work emails, and phone numbers. I don't even remember that stuff. Just what basically a huge pain in the ass is. Like, I don't even think I could remember all the IP addresses or emails that I've had in the last several years. And just, that's insane. And then someone wrote after that, there is that American exceptionalism again, talking about how we're so pompous that we think people are going to want to go through that to get into America. And then he writes, I am South African, shithole country, according to the Orange Felon, but I would not want to jump through hoops just to travel. 77 million have unleashed an unhinged monster on the whole world. And then someone posts underneath him, these are the instructions for traveling to North Korea, right? Oh, wait, just true. Like, I think it would be easier to get into North Korea or East Berlin when it still existed than it is to get into the US right now. And then on it went in this thread, somebody writes, Andrea Brownie says, not that simple. I guess she's a German. I have to share my IP addresses of the past 10 years, all social media accounts from the last 5, give you guys my family's telephone numbers. Some of us have to pay a deposit of $15. I don't, in euros, I don't know what that is. Maybe $150. I'm sorry, I can't translate that in real time. And then might be sent to a concentration camp. As tempting as that sounds, I might pass. And I responded, why would anyone come here? Seriously, Why would you come here? I mean, going through all of those hoops and then possibly being thrown into a concentration camp? F no. And then someone responded in the same thread, this is insane. This is Nazi Germany. Right. Remember I just said something about getting into East Berlin at Checkpoint Charlie? Just crazy. And then more information about how far America is falling with Republicans just absolutely gutting the Affordable Care Act. Many ACA customers are paying higher premiums. Most blame Trump and Republicans. A poll finds this is coming from the Kaiser Family Foundation, which is a nonprofit org that studies healthcare outcomes. And yeah, it's about now that all of these premiums are kicking in for people who did sign up on the ACA. Millions didn't. But I understand I'm in this quagmire right now, trying to sort out what I'm going to do if I'm not able to continue the current health insurance plan that I have. And if I'm going to have to switch to the ACA, and God help me, how expensive that's going to be. You know, in many cases, it's simply unaffordable. So that's going to make us a sicker America. And then the Heather Ashley writes this: the United States, as we all knew it, no longer exists. There is no coming back from this. There is only starting over. And someone writes, the Germans had to start over after World War II. It will be difficult, but the American people will learn a lot from this. And then Celeste writes, I don't think that's a bad thing. I have no desire to be what we have been in my lifetime. We deserve better. Collectively, maybe not MAGA. By Fire and Moonlight writes, I say this with as much kindness as I can muster. What this country has done to Black and Indigenous people always has been worse. Always. White people benefited and perpetuated it while pretending what has been happening to them this entire time isn't that bad. It has always been horrific. She's right. And then Russ East Coast Guy posts, empire is like a cancer. It grows, causing damage to the host, spreading to different parts of the host. It benefits few people except the wealthy. There is good news. All empires collapse. That doesn't mean the country dies. It just means it collapses down to a version of its earlier self. Witness Denmark, the UK, and Germany. Many of them become more caring and focused on the well-being of their citizens and less invested in military spending. Well, that would be a blessing if we invested less in our disgustingly bloated Pentagon budget, well over $1 trillion, and the Trump regime is asking for an additional $200 billion more, while we have people who are quite literally starving, unable to afford housing, as I just pointed out, can't afford healthcare, groceries. So I think that would be a great idea. And then going on through the things that America, the terrible things that America has unleashed with the Trump regime, thanks to Elon Musk and his wicked little sociopathic Doge boys, the Trump global aid cuts risk 14 million deaths in 5 years. This is according to a new report from The Lancet that was just released in this last month. And it says here, this is on the BBC, but it's coming from this Lancet report. President Donald Trump's move to cut most of the U.S. funding towards foreign humanitarian aid, that's through USAID, by the way, could cause more than 14 million additional deaths. And then it goes on and talks about how U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in March that over 80% of all programs at the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, had been canceled. The Trump administration has taken aim at what it sees as wasteful spending. And then going on, talks about these cutbacks, which were condemned around the world by humanitarian organizations, were overseen, as I mentioned, by Elon Musk, the sociopathic billionaire who was leading an initiative to shrink the federal workforce, which didn't end up saving us any money, by the way. It didn't save us anything. In fact, a lot of these agencies had to rehire. We're still paying people while they've been cut by the Doge boys. And it's just been an epic disaster what Elon Musk and the Doge boys were involved in, not to mention all of our private information has now been leaked to these little sociopaths. So bottom line here, guys, I think the takeaway here is when, not if, we take our country back from the fascists And I'm not sure when you'll be seeing this, but I hope that you made it out to the No Kings protest this past weekend. But things are not going to go back to normal. And it drives me crazy when I hear people say that, let's just go back to normalcy. No, nor should they, because clearly America was so deeply broken that our normal system allowed for a Donald Trump to end up as president, not once, but twice. So whatever was normal was not working for us. So we cannot go back to that. And we shouldn't want to. He is a criminal who's criming with impunity thanks to our very broken system. Our electoral college is corrupt. It is not representative of the population of the United States. When you have somebody who wins the popular vote, like a Hillary Clinton did, she won the popular vote when she ran against Trump, and then the electoral college gets in. So we need to do away with that. Obviously, the Supreme Court is fully corrupted. The campaign finance reforms need to happen. The dark money that has flooded our political system has created so much corruption that it's no longer a democratic system. It really never has been with the electoral college. We've never been a fully representative system. We haven't. So we can't go back to normal. It wasn't working for us. We need to build. And the founders, the framers, wrote the Constitution to be a living, breathing document, to be improved upon. And the people who are in power right now, they don't even regard the Constitution as anything that they slightly need to follow. And we've seen that with these corrupt, activists in robes at the Supreme Court. And what we really need to do is to revert to an FDR style of governance. FDR was a socialist type of guy. His New Deal oversaw the beginnings and the expansion of Social Security, of the Fair Housing Act, of consumer bank protections, of fair labor laws. That's when you saw worker unions expanding, the bedrocks and the protections of the working class. And in the years since, as capitalism grew and grew and grew, the middle class has shrunk. Now we've got CEOs and hedge fund managers making more money than any of their worker bees will make in their lifetimes. They make more money in a day, in a year. And people who start these companies, it sounds like a great idea. Oh, they started up a company, but then they end up hoarding the wealth, not paying their employees a fair amount, not providing them with benefits. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they've been allowed to get away with it with impunity. I mean, look at how Jeff Bezos started. Oh, little startup guy. Now he's one of the world's biggest capitalistic monsters. And Republicans are destroying pretty much everything about FDR's legacy, and add LBJ in there too. Lyndon B. Johnson, who signed off on Medicaid and Medicare, all of these programs that have lifted up the working class and helped. Probably most of you watching, and certainly myself, have been absolutely eviscerated by Republicans. So we have a lot of work to do, America. But if we can learn the lessons of what happens when tyranny and late stage capitalism prevails, as it has under Republicans, and to an extent, corruption in the corporate Democrat Party as well, because they own this too, Hakeem and Chuck and so many others who are, on the take. If we can learn those lessons as we head into the midterms, I think we can rescue America from the very bad place, from the very sunken place, and make it a place that people around the world will hopefully respect and want to visit one day again. That's my hope and my prayer. And I hope you guys will join me in that. So thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are below. But, I don't know. I think a lot of us aren't feeling so very prideful about America right now. And that's probably a good thing, because that American exceptionalism bit us in the ass. We were just arrogant a-holes. And now look at us. Pride cometh before a fall. That's biblical. All right. Thanks for watching. I will see you back here again soon. And as always, remain fierce and let's fight for peace.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.